Hello. So today we've got Steve Burgess, who's going to talk about past life regression, because he's got some training coming up in the UK in March. Hi, Steve.
Morning, Marcia. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Over here in Norway in the snow.
Oh,
So
wow, it's snowing. We should have some
we've got
pictures.
3 meters of snow outside. So yeah, sorry, 3 feet of snow outside.
Really? Wow. Don't send it over here. It can stay there.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about past life regression. I mean, how did you get into it in the first place?
Well, I'd understood about past lives. I'd read about reincarnation when I was 14, and it
Hmm.
suddenly life made sense to me. For the
Oh, wow.
first time in my life made sense when I read reincarnation. Because then I couldn't understand life before that. Nothing made sense.
Hmm.
So I'd known about reincarnation, the concept of reincarnation for many years. But when I trained as a hypnotherapist, we didn't do any training, any proper training in past lives. And then one day, and I'd actually been a Buddhist for many years as well. So in between, I've been practicing as a Buddhist for many years. So reincarnation was in my world. But as a therapist, I was just a normal standard hypnotherapist. You know, I would take clients into trance, I'd read my scripts, I'd tell them suggestions, I'd do NLP stuff, and hope that that would work. And then one day, a gentleman came in with a massive anxiety problem, and he spontaneously regressed into his
Hmm.
past life, a
Yeah,
death in a past life,
that can
incredibly
happen.
dramatic. And I suddenly realized this is important because in 30 seconds, it completely cured his anxiety state.
Wow.
In fact, it probably wasn't even 30 seconds, it was probably 25 seconds. It was done. He was no longer anxious. And I mean, it was an extraordinary thing. So I thought, well, this is serious. This is significant. Why don't I know about this?
Hmm.
Why aren't we looking at this seriously? Um, so I got hold of a load of information from the American Past Life organization, scripts and stuff like that, and started to play with it in a small way. And then found that more and more people, because I started to do more and more regression, most of my work initially was analytical hypnotherapy or hypnoanalysis, which is similar to regression.
Yeah.
But then I started to move more into the regression field, having worked with Ernest Rossi, the great hypnotherapist from the States, because he's very much into using idiomotor responses and ideodynamic signaling, as he calls it. And so I started to put it all together into a package and develop this system, a regression system, which works for most
Hmm.
clients. And I've been doing that successfully now for, well, I've been doing the job for 28 years, so probably for 25 years doing
So many years.
regression systems. It's a long time.
Hmm.
Um, and for me, the standpoint I now have, having done over 15,000 therapy sessions at these times, is that regression is the most powerful and important therapy there is.
Hmm.
And I say that for me, it's even more powerful and effective than EFT. And I know you're the great TFT, and I love
Yeah,
EFT,
I
but
love tapping.
um, past life regression especially is such a powerful process,
Hmm.
and fixes clients so very, very well, when many other processes don't actually get anywhere near the problem.
So what
Um,
sort of things does it help with clients? What sort of issues?
virtually any issue that a
Hmm.
client brings could have its roots in a past life. Now, of course, the concept of regression is that all of our problems are caused by locked in feelings and emotions
Yeah.
from past
Hmm.
traumas. So, because a lot of regression is about working in the past in this lifetime. And we do look at this on the course, of course. I do cover working in regression in this life, because it's very similar to past life regression.
Hmm. Yeah.
But there's a lot of clients' issues which are not just from this life, but can come from previous lifetimes. Sometimes it's both, and with a lot of clients, we're working in this life and a past life to
Okay.
heal the problem. So virtually any issue. So you name it, over the years, I have used regression and past life
Hmm.
regression to heal the problem, whether it's depression. Depression um, responds very well to regression.
Hmm.
And depression can be totally cured as a result of doing regression. And it's extraordinary how many people with depression have got past life causes in
I would
there.
imagine it's really good for, you know, when we've seen clients and it doesn't quite clear up their issue, then it could be a past life that we need to work on.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Or this life, you know. But, a lot of therapists work in this lifetime, and that's fine. But this is the extra dimension. And as you say, you can work and work and nothing, it's not getting there, and then there's a past life. And the system that I teach is about the client's subconscious telling us where we need to go.
Okay.
So we don't have to psychically tune into the client and get a sense of where the problems are coming from. I'm not into that.
They have all the answers, don't they?
They've got the answers.
We're just a tool.
Yeah, and I've been called a tool a lot of times. Anxiety states, phobias, the classic past life problems. I would suggest that 60% of phobias have got the causes are in past lifetimes.
Right. Okay.
As high as that. Physical problems. Many physical problems can come from past life injuries or past life deaths. And by the way, most past life therapy is about working in death trauma in past life.
Right. Okay.
Most, not a lot, but maybe 70% is death trauma. So we see.
Have you got an example of a client that you've seen and helped with past life? I'm sure you've got lots of examples. But...
Yes. One of the most dramatic that I talk about on the course was a lady who had a severe back problem. And she was in a really bad state. She'd even had surgery. They couldn't find anything wrong with the back when they opened it, so they just stitched the back up again. We found that she'd been shot. There were 4 past lives, but one was the most significant. And she'd been shot when she was in the Second World War as a Nazi soldier.
Oh,
she
wow.
was shot in the back. I've just finished writing my 3rd book, and I'm including the story of a client in Oslo who last year I saw with lip cancer. And she definitely didn't want to go down the standard route to get it healed, or to anything to do with medicine. So a combination of lifestyle change, doing kinesiology, and working in regression with me has cured the lip cancer. So
oh, wow.
2 past lives, both of them she was raped in the past lives.
Right. Okay.
And she couldn't say anything afterwards. Of course, the lip is about speaking. She couldn't speak out. So there was this blocked energy in this life, in the lip area, in the mouth area, coming out as lip cancer. So we did some regression work in Oslo, and then I think about 3 or 4 months later, she sent me a message saying, Steve, I've been back to the hospital. They cannot find a trace of cancer in my body.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. It's giving me
goosebumps. It's extraordinary stuff. But you know, I could go on for days about this. I include a lot of these stories in the book which comes out in March, my new book, The Power of Past Life Regression.
Right. Okay.
And talking about how it's healed clients with virtually every problem. Sexual problems, they're classic, they can come from past lives. I had one chap, again, he was from Norway, who was struggling sexually when he was making love with his wife. He was losing his erection quite quickly, and there was no reason for it. And we found that there was a couple of past lives. One of them, he was a monk in a previous life, who a young monk for a woman that was living outside the monastery. And the chief monk was an archetypal baddie. So he was also homosexual, the chief monk. So anything to do with a woman, he was completely against. So what he did, he put this young monk through a whole series of tortures to try to get the devil out of him. Because obviously he liked this woman, and therefore it was the devil that was in him.
Right. Okay.
And these were horrible sort of experiences. And eventually he died because of this. So of course his subconscious is saying, well, woman, sex equals pain and death.
Yeah.
So therefore, every time he's climbing in bed with his wife and starting to climb all over her, his subconscious is saying, this is going to kill us,
Mm.
we're going to die.
Wow.
So of course, it won't let him get, he loses the erection.
Mm.
Um,
Wow,
because
that's
as we know,
crazy.
the subconscious is very literal.
Mm-hmm.
Relationship problems, excuse me, they can come from past lives as well. You name it. The list is almost endless.
Anything. So tell me more about the training. What do you include? What's included in the training that you're doing? It's a 4
Okay,
day,
so
isn't it?
we go right through from knowing nothing about this to, at the end of the 4 days, being able to take this system away and use it with many clients.
Mm-hmm.
I cover a lot of theory in terms of the background to this before we get into the practicals, and then it really is a very practical course. We start off by looking at how to do past life regression group workshops.
Oh,
Because that's a fascinating way to, I mean, past lives are fascinating for us as therapists,
most
but
people find them fascinating, don't they?
they're completely fascinating.
Mm.
So we start off by looking at doing group workshops because they're a great way to get free publicity and to build your practice as a
Mm-hmm.
therapist. Because the press are fascinated with this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've always found if you're putting on past life regression group workshops, the press will always give you free publicity, which
Mm-hmm.
is a great way to get your name out there as a
Yeah,
therapist.
sounds good.
And then we start gently moving into using past lives in therapy. First of all, looking at the forgotten aspect of past life regression, which are what are called positive past lives.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we bring positive resources and abilities from previous lives into this lifetime.
Oh, I didn't realise that. Sounds good.
So if you want to play a musical instrument better, it may be you've played one in a past life, therefore we go back into the life and you bring that ability to play in this lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
etc., etc. You may need more confidence. Well, we've been around in so many lifetimes, you can guarantee that a client will have some past lives where they were very confident and strong.
Mm-hmm.
Go back into that life and bring it into this one. Then we start moving into the trauma aspect of therapy, which is what most therapy is about, is working in the past in order to release the traumas of the past. And this is where this full system comes in when I teach, which is quite structured. I've always said I'm a structured therapist. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
happy with people who do things in a woolly way.
Yeah.
And this is not new agey stuff either. I'm not very much not into new agey stuff at
Mm-hmm.
all. This is a psychotherapeutic discipline. That's the way I approach it.
Mm-hmm.
And my standpoint is that this should be regression and past life regression should be viewed as a serious therapy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've stood up and shouted that for over 20 years, over a quarter of a century. And I've been knocked down plenty of times, but more
I'm
people.
sure.
So by the end of the 4 days, and you know, Marcy, there are some people, some so-called trainers of regression that will do 1 day in past life regression and think that's enough. It ain't enough
Mm-hmm.
in any way, shape, or form to do this job properly. In fact, my opinion is if you're only doing a 1 day course, there's a chance you're going to damage people
Mm-hmm.
because this is powerful stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
I mean,
damage
regression in this life is powerful enough. So going back into past lives,
very much so.
another
Very much so.
dimension.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But what I will say is clients love
Mm-hmm.
it. Especially a client who comes and they have no idea about past lives. They don't believe in past lives. They don't have to. And they find that suddenly they're in a past lifetime. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, wow, this is extraordinary. Wow. And my old mentor, Wilf Proudfoot, one of my initial trainer, he used to say, don't give them an explanation, give them an experience. And it is
Sounds like a good
definitely
plan.
an experience doing
Yeah.
a regression session. I also cover working kinesthetically. And what that means is that quite a lot of people who are like me, who are non-visual, when they
Right.
go into a regression session, they can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most therapists are visual. And so what happens is the client can't see anything and they think, oh, it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
We better do something else. And all you do is take the client in kinesthetically and the life, the past life or this life, they regress into it physically, kinesthetically, emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to know what's happening, you don't have to see it. So I specialise in what I call kinesthetic release
Oh, that's really good.
as well. It can be a bonus being non-visual at times because you've got to be very creative in terms
Yeah, exactly.
of so it's a very intense course. We're not playing around with this and doing this very seriously. And I can promise anybody who comes on the course, it's life-changing. And more than that, I've had many therapists over the years who have said to me, after they've done the course, I now feel like a complete therapist. And because not enough um, credence or emphasis is placed on regression in a lot of therapy training courses. That's my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, some don't include it at all, do they?
At all, yeah. Exactly. Which is beggars belief that people can call themselves hypnotherapists with no knowledge of regression. And then, of course, we've got other offshoots of regression in terms of rebirthing. We mentioned that, but I usually cover that in the advanced regression course.
Right, okay.
There's another course later on. And also later on working with spirit attachments as well.
Okay.
Because they can occasionally come through in therapy. It scares the hell out of most people.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very filled course, a lot of practical stuff, and I always say, look, I've been doing it for 28 years now. I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of regression sessions. So I'm not teaching anybody anything that I don't do myself.
That you haven't used again and again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is, it is a system.
Step by step.
Step by step.
Yeah, that's good. People like that.
I think so. I think people prefer structure.
Yeah. Okay, it sounds great.
So fingers crossed. If anybody wants to call me or send me a message if you've got any questions, then send me.
Yeah.
I'll give you information.
Great. I'll put your details at the end.
Yeah.
Great.
Fantastic.
Okay, thanks, Steve. I'm looking forward to the course in March.
To being in Kent in March, yes.
Yes. Okay, take care. Good to speak to you.
Cheers.
Bye.